Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's live stream. So, of course, before I do get started, I do want to share a few things with you guys. Of course, you can visit my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. You can find out a ton of information on there related to, of course, various fitness, nutrition, and recovery related topics on my fitness blog. And then I also have an email newsletter that I send out each and every Friday, as well as a ton of information on there to learn more about online fitness coaching. So, of course, I do want to also share that I do live streams throughout the week. So, I do a live stream every Tuesday on TikTok, a live stream every Wednesday on Facebook, and then a live stream every Thursday here on YouTube. So, I do those throughout the week. Every stream has a different subject that I usually talk about and discuss. So if that's something that you want to check out, you can join, or excuse me, follow my TikTok and join my Facebook group that I have. So definitely check those out if that's something that you're interested in. I'm always, again, sharing a ton of information that you can make use of, and that's what I want these streams to be about, is for a way for, of course, you to make use of all the information that I give you because this is all valuable information that anybody can use. So, thank you guys once again. Again, check out my website, it's bponlinefitness.com. So, let's go ahead and get going with talking about today's topic, which is on mental health and muscle growth. So, this is a very important topic that I think a lot of you guys will probably find a lot of information from. And I think this is something that is very, relatable to my journey as well. And it's partly, the reason why I got into fitness itself because of the impact on how it made me feel in a lot of different ways and how it made me, challenge a lot of different things about myself. So, these are a few of the topics that we're going to discuss today. We're going to go over 7 different points in this particular stream. So, we're going to go over stress is the hidden fatigue, the nervous system, and why mental burnout feels physical, consistency versus motivation in the mental game of progress, identity shift, becoming someone who trains, perfectionism is killing your progress, and recovery isn't just physical, it's mental too. So these are all of the different points we're going to go over. And again, guys, we're going to really dive into why both your mental health as well as muscle growth can be interconnected and how you are going to see progress in your overall routine. If there is any questions that you guys have, feel free to let me know. Another thing that I do want to mention that I forgot to mention, as an introduction, is that there are new ways that you can support me here on YouTube. So I just recently basically got added as a part of the YouTube Partner Program. Basically, what that means is my content is able to be monetized, in other words. So there are ways where you can give to my content, where you can do super chats as well as gifts on my content. So you'll likely see that on some of the videos where that is accessible for you to do. That's not something I'm going to push anybody to do, but I did want to share that I do have those there. If you do want to support the channel, there's no pressure though, but I did want to share that because I feel like it was a milestone that I reached, being able to monetize my content in a lot of ways because I've been working pretty hard on this channel. So thank you guys again for your support, all the videos that I've shared. I really appreciate all of your support. And again, sharing those videos, sharing your thoughts, comments, likes, things of that nature. I really do appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get going with this topic, guys. So the first point here is stress is hidden fatigue. So when it comes to stress, there's a lot of things that we sort of forget when it comes to how it impacts us in fitness. So what is hidden fatigue and what does that mean? So stress from work life, and emotions is going to lead to extra load on your system overall. So your body doesn't really separate that mental stress from physical stress. And this is where you're going to kind of notice the difference between, well, not a difference, but between how those two are interconnected with each other. So high stress is going to reduce your recovery capacity. And I know that stress is really a difficult sort of thing to grasp because it's not something that we can see. But there are many ways that you can sort of alleviate stress that I think, again, we'll sort of discuss as we go through this, that'll really help you to manage better. Because let me tell you, I do know what it feels like, and when it comes to stress overtaking your life in a lot of different ways, especially when you're trying to do a fitness routine. You have work that you're doing, and then you have this constant stress about thinking about everything else in your life. So I do understand that feeling itself, and it's a really hard thing to manage. So, why it matters for muscle growth? Again, elevated stress can increase cortisol, which may break down muscle tissue. What it's going to lead to is poor recovery, equaling weaker workouts and reduced performance. Sleep disruption is going to limit muscle protein synthesis. So, if you're getting up pretty often in the night, this is going to lead to, really hindering that muscle growth process. Chronic stress, meaning stress that is lasting, for a decent period of time, is going to stall progress even when training is hard in particular. So, think about that as well when it comes to, again, how you approach, when you're trying to accomplish a particular goal in your fitness routine. So you guys will have to bear with me because I'm sort of under the weather and I'm trying to push through. Um, so if my voice does sound kind of weird, that's why. A lot of it I think has to do with allergies as well. So just know that that's why, you know, why I may sound kind of weird as far as, as I'm talking here. But again, guys, as we're discussing this, what you need to be aware of is that stress is really going to play in how we recover in our workouts and how we are able to progress more efficiently. So, the next point is the nervous system. I've discussed the nervous system before, and it plays a really big role that we don't understand. So, the nervous system really, what it does is it helps with it sort of relates to our performance in our workouts. So, the nervous system and why mental burnout feels physical. So what's really happening when you're going through mental burnout? So like what I mentioned, when it comes to, again, stress, it's going to be interconnected with our body as well as our, overall mental health itself. And we're going to feel those physical difficulties or those physical changes when it comes to that. So what's really happening? Your nervous system is controlling movement, energy output, and recovery overall. Mental stress, excuse me, mental stress, work, life, and pressure is going to activate the same pathways as physical training. So your body stays in a fight or flight state longer than it should. So why burnout feels physical? Elevated stress hormones are going to raise your cortisol, and it's going to drain your energy reserves at the same time. So this reduced neural drive is what's leading your muscles to feel weaker and slower. So at the same time, your sleep quality is going to drop and recovery is going to be disrupted. So coordination and focus decline, and workouts are going to feel harder than usual. Again, guys, I apologize. So, as we're continuing on, identity shift is another thing that we have to think about when we're pressing forward in our routine. So, how we see our workouts and how we see our progress and how we're able to manage our stress are going to be interconnected. So, the problem is that most people are going to rely on short-term goals, which means they're going to focus on losing weight or building muscle. And then when motivation fades, the behavior despairs with it, or disappears with it, I should say. So the identity shift is that you want to stop saying, I'm trying to work out, and you want to start saying that I'm someone who trains. So why does identity matter? Your actions are going to follow your beliefs about yourself. And when you change identity, this consistency becomes more automatic. So you stop negotiating. Again, guys, I apologize. I'm trying to get through this. So, again, why identity matters again is that you have to think about your workouts in a different way. You have to think about them as really trying to pursue something more than just just a general goal. So you don't want to think about the short term, you want to think about what you're trying to accomplish in the long term. So what does that look like in real life? So you train even when it's not perfect. Again, like I've mentioned before, your workout routine should be able to work with your daily life. Excuse me, guys. So it should be able to work with your daily life. So you adjust the workout instead of skipping it, and you prioritize recovery because it's part of who you are. So you have to, again, be able to adapt to those changes and be able to, again, change your perspective on how you're seeing those workouts. So don't just rely on your short-term goals, really rely on making sort of your goal more detailed and really breaking it apart to where you're thinking about what is it that I want, like how much muscle do I want to gain? Or basically, how much weight do I want to lose? And what amount of time do I want to lose that? So you have to think about it and really identify it in a more detailed way. And your goal should basically change as you're pressing forward. You should be able to change, you should be able to adapt and sort of expand that goal as you're moving forward. And that's what you really have to think about. So perfectionism is killing your progress. So this is common with a lot of people where we do really emphasize doing everything perfect and trying to get everything in line as much as possible. And I've been guilty of this myself. I've done it many times, especially with workouts. And then like sometimes when I have workouts that are, kind of not what I was expecting, like they kind of turned out bad, those workouts, even though it didn't feel like I was making progress, and you're gonna have that too, where you're gonna feel like those workouts are as, they weren't as effective as you were thinking they would be. And another thing too that you have to think about is that when it comes to progress, and like what I've mentioned with, progressive overload, it doesn't have to be about trying to constantly, up yourself each and every session you go into. It's more about, again, that gradual progression. So if you watched my stream that I did yesterday, I discussed, and it's here on YouTube as well, I discussed basically how how you have to approach, you know, your progression, related to bicep workouts. And a lot of times you have to think about progression again as staying within a certain phase of workouts and staying consistent. Again, guys, I apologize. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't count. So miss one workout and you're going to feel behind. But if you feel behind, that's going to lead you to stop completely. So you're waiting for the perfect plan, time, or energy. So what perfectionism really does is that it's going to turn small setbacks into full stops. So you're going to really prevent that progress from happening because you're just seeing that setback as such a major, flaw, in other words. So it creates inconsistency, which is disguised as high standards. So it's going to keep you stuck in planning instead of executing. So the reality of progress is that imperfect workouts, again, like I mentioned, imperfect workouts are still going to sort of create that stimulus. And 70% of that effort done consistently is going to be 100% of what's done occasionally. So momentum is going to matter more than your overall progression itself. So you have to think about that as well. So recovery isn't just physical, it's mental too. So like I mentioned, recovery is so much more than we realize. And again, recovery plays into the concept of your nutrition as well as what you do post workout, your active recovery, your sleep. All of those different factors are going to play in sort of how you progress better in your workout routines. So, recovery again is a mix of both of those elements. So, it's going to relate to how you feel mentally as well as how you feel physically, and those are both going to be interconnected. So, the missing piece is that most people focus on muscles, soreness, and rest days as being the end all be all, but they're ignoring the mental stress and the burnout and the cognitive fatigue that may be happening outside of workouts. So, what's really happening is that mental stress is again leading to that hidden fatigue and it counts like training volume. So, you have to take that into consideration when you are doing your workout routine that you still have to really have a balance in how you approach those workouts. So, hey guys, give me just a second. So, your nervous system doesn't separate live stress from workout stress. So, why does this slow your progress? So, poor sleep quality is going to lead to weaker recovery. Again, sleep quality can relate to the phases that you go through in your sleep, which can be sort of influenced based on your stress and the sort of how you're feeling overall. So, this can, of course, be altered. Like, if you pay attention to like how active you are, sometimes if you have quite a bit of cardio or if you're staying active for, a pretty long period of time, that can kind of hinder your sleep quality. And again, I'm not talking about just doing a 30-minute or an hour workout. That wouldn't necessarily hinder your sleep quality. But if you're somebody who stays pretty active and is constantly trying to move and focus on cardio, that can, again, because your heart rate is going to be so elevated for an extended period of time, it can kind of hinder that sleep quality. And again, you can improve sleep quality in many different ways, such as, of course, creating a proper, bedtime schedule, as well as making sure that you're not sort of using any kind of blue light or like looking at your phone, TV, and things like that. So, sleep quality can be altered in a lot of ways, but just know that, of course, managing your mental stress is going to play in that as well. So elevated stress hormones, again, that's pretty much your cortisol that is, really leading to that, increased stress. This is going to reduce muscle repair. So again, it's going to lower your focus and it's going to lead to weaker training performance. Increased fatigue is going to lead to harder to stay, or basically makes it harder for you to stay consistent in your workout routine. So you have to keep that in mind as well. So all of these different factors can be managed. Again, when it comes to stress, one of the things that I like to, really help me is thinking about, doing mindfulness meditation. That can help in a lot of ways. I always try to include, I try to take at least a few minutes a day. And here recently, I've tried to making that more of a focus to really, again, take time to like really be in the moment and be mindful of where you're at in the current moment. Again, like what I mentioned with mind muscle connection and workouts, is it matters when you're being fully aware of your environment and where you're at. And it does help when you just take at least three you know, even like for me, I only take a few minutes a day and I'll like do some deep breathing exercises. And it does help to, really reduce that stress in a lot of different ways. Like it does calm me so much better after, whenever I do that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And again, mindfulness and, taking time to yourself, really try to find different areas. And, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything of that sort, but there are many ways that you can improve your mental health. And of course, fitness is going to have those benefits, but you do have to make sure that you're able to manage your stress at the same time and really have the ability to control that stress as much as possible. Alrighty, so this is the last slide that I have on this presentation, guys. I do really want to thank you for taking the time to check out this stream today. Again, I know that I'm kind of under the weather and I sound really weird, but I did want to go through this stream because I do feel like it's relevant. And I really hope that you guys found some information from this, even though, even though I just kind of coughing and everything. But I really did want to go through this and share this with you guys. Again, I should be better by the next time we have another stream. But again, I think a lot of it's allergies and things like that. So, but thank you guys again for your time. I hope that you found this helpful and valuable. If you do have any questions about anything that I've discussed here recently, feel free to let me know. Um, Another thing too, if you do have any topics that you would like me to discuss in a future stream, I will be willing to do that. I'm always willing to again dive into other topics. Again, related to fitness, nutrition, and recovery and things of that nature. So if you're interested in me discussing something in particular, just feel free to let me know. Again, guys, you can visit bponlinefitness.com where you can learn more about what I have to offer related to online fitness coaching. If you do also find any of these streams helpful, feel free to share these. I'm really trying to continue to build my channel and continue to share all that I have to offer and how I can, again, help people when it comes to fitness, nutrition, recovery. And again, even though my target focus is to help LGBTQ men, I'm willing to help anybody that I can. But I do, again, a lot of the reasons why I focus on that demographic in itself is because I do relate to that demographic in a lot of ways because, I am a part of that demographic. So that's the reason why I've made that a focus to, again, be a coach who's understandable and who can be there for anybody and know that there's somebody that can help you and guide you through the process. And I want fitness to be as approachable as possible because I know how difficult it can be when you have coaches that may not fully understand your background or where you're coming from. It does make a difference when you have somebody that's there to, understand what you are trying to accomplish while you being able to be honest and open about yourself with them. So, again, that's my main focus. If you guys again have any questions, feel free to let me know. I appreciate your time. I really hope that you found this insightful, helpful, and valuable. And I will see you guys next Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time in the next stream. I will have that event uploaded beforehand so that you can be notified on when it does go live. Again, click on the notify me button when I do post that, and it'll let you know when it does go live. So it will again be next Thursday, of course, but definitely watch for that thumbnail when I do post it. Thank you guys once again, and I will see you guys next Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time in the next live stream.